Hey writers! So today we are going to continue collecting story ideas for our realistic fiction stories. Last week I had you come up with 5 different ideas, and those 5 different ideas all included realistic characters, so no zombies, no aliens, right? Realistic characters. You didn't have a dog speaking. And it all took place in a setting, a realistic place. So nobody's story took place underwater or in outer space. They all took place in places like a park or at your house. There was a problem that could really happen and a solution. And I told you we're going to practice using different strategies to come up with lots of different ideas. And today we're going to focus on 2 different strategies. Okay, so we're adding to our list of strategies we can use. Do you remember what we did on Thursday? Do you remember the strategy we did? It's been a while. You could test out the 5-finger strategy, right? Or you could do the picture strategy. And I would say about half of you did each. And I'm just wondering if that strategy was helpful for you. I want you to think about that for a minute. Did you enjoy the strategy that you did or that you practiced? Okay, so today we are going to practice using the note strategy, and we're also going to practice using the touch page strategy. And I'm going to start with the note strategy, and I'm going to look back on an idea that I had collected at the beginning of last week. So I had this idea about Cameron, my nephew, but it's not really my nephew. I'm using names that I know, but the story is going to be a little bit different. It's not something that's ever happened to me before or happened to them before. But I'm going to say there's a boy named Cameron. He was playing on the playground with Logan. A boy came and asked if he could play with them, and Logan said no. The boy was sad and walked away. Cameron talked to Logan about how important it is to include others. Logan and Cameron walked over to the boy and said, "We are sorry. We would like to play with you." Right? So my story had 3 characters. It took place at a park. The problem was realistic. It could really happen. Sometimes kids can say hurtful things. And the solution was realistic too, because, the 2 boys had a conversation and then they apologized. And that is a possible solution. Now, we are learning all about being a good citizen, and our focus with our realistic fiction stories is also about being a good citizen and doing the right thing. So in my example, did that happen? Yeah. So try to think about that when you're doing your writing today, okay? So using that idea, I am going to show you how to do the note strategy. So what I did, because not everybody has a notebook, so what I did is on the page on Seesaw as well, I basically put up 3 pages. And if that's not enough for you, you could always use the second page on Seesaw and add more pages. But what you're going to do is just write down some notes about what you want or what you imagine to happen on each page of your story. Okay? So I'm going to think about the beginning, and I'm going to write down some ideas. So I'm going to say, on page 1, I'm going to say 2 boys named Cameron, and, I'm going to switch the second name. I'm going to say Cameron and Julian. 2 boys named Cameron and Julian were playing at a playground when a boy came and asked if he could play. So this is what I imagine. This is what I imagine at the beginning of my story. I can almost imagine a picture that would go along with it. So that's what happens at the beginning. We meet the characters, we have the setting, and then on page 2, I'm imagining the problem happening. So the boy asked if he could play. I'm going to say Julian yells, "No." Okay, so this boy says, "No." The boy walks away I'm going to say he has like a sad look on his face. Maybe he's crying a little bit. The boy walks away with tears in his eyes. Cameron tells Julian they need to apologize. And if I don't know how to spell something, I can just underline it. Apologize. Julian tells Julian they need to apologize. He says this boy just wants friends. Okay? So I'm imagining that on the second page. And then on the third page, I'm imagining the two boys walking over. And I like the idea of Julian feeling bad since he's the person who yelled. I like the idea of Julian being the one to say, I'm sorry, we would love for you to play with us. So I'm going to say they walk back to the boy. Well, I'm going to say, and ask his name. They should ask his name. He says his name is, Lathan. He says his name is Lathan. Lathan, I am sorry for what I said. We would love to play with you. We would love to play, Julian says. Lathan agrees. Okay, whew. My notes I made on the board were a little too small. I went off the notes, and that's okay. You can do the same thing. That's why I'm giving you a second page. So you're just kind of telling the big things that would happen on each page. It sort of reminds me of the finger strategy when I had you, telling the story and putting your finger down as it went, or as your story progressed. And it's very similar even to the picture strategy, where you drew pictures of the big scenes. The strategy is similar in many ways. So this is one of your choices today. You can use the note strategy, or you can do another strategy, which I really like a lot. It reminds me of the 5-finger strategy, but it's called the touch page strategy. And all you need for this strategy, the best way to do this is with a notebook. And if you can't find a notebook, you could even take a few pieces of paper and, touch just plain pieces of paper. You could touch little Post-it notes if you have them. You could even use a book and just practice touching the pages and telling me your story while you touch the pages. Okay? So I'm just, trying to be flexible because we all have different materials available. So I have this little notebook that I like to use for drawing notes and from meetings as well. And what I'm going to do is tell the same kind of story, but this time I'm going to touch the pages as I go. And if this is the strategy that you'd like to include, you're going to be invited to take a video of yourself doing it, or you can even touch the seesaw pages and record yourself using the microphone, okay? So this is the first page. I'm going to just write down what I imagine would be on the first page. So in the beginning of my story, there are two boys playing at the playground. Their names are Cameron and Julian, and they are very good friends. They are playing in the sandbox, and they are building a really big sand castle. They have trucks around it that they are driving around the sand castle. Suddenly, a boy comes up to them. He is wearing a blue t-shirt and shorts, and he asks if he can play with them. Julian says to this boy, "No, you can't play with us. It's just a game for the two of us." This boy says, "Okay," and he walks away. Okay, so now I'm thinking I turn the page. So I'm going to physically turn the page. I can get it. And I'm going to continue my story. Page 2. Cameron says something to Julian. Julian isn't paying attention. Cameron says it again louder. He says, Julian, when that boy came up and asked if he could play, we should have said yes. He seemed very nice, and he is here by himself. It looks like he could really use a friend. One time I was at the park, and I played by myself, and I felt very lonely. Have you ever felt like that before? Julian says, yes, I have, and I didn't think about it when I said no to that boy. Cameron says, I think we need to go talk to him and say we're sorry and ask him to play with us. What do you think? Julian says, yes, let's do that. Next page. Turning the page and I'm touching it. They walk over to the boy and they can see that the boy has tears in his eyes. He is sitting on the swing by himself. Julian says to this boy, hey, what is your name? And the boy says, my name is Lathan. And they say, Lathan, how old are you? Lathan explains that he is 8 years old. Julian says, I am very sorry for what I said. We would really like to play with you. Will you give us a second chance? Lathan thinks about it and says, yes, I will give you another chance. And then he asks them, why did you tell me I couldn't play with you? Julian says, I'm really not sure, but I am very sorry for hurting your feelings, and we would like to be your friend. The three boys walk together over to the sandcastle, and they have a great time playing with each other. The end. Okay? So that strategy, I touched pages as I told my story. You are going to choose one of those strategies today to practice writing your story. Remember, it's realistic fiction, so you have people who could be real. You have a place that's realistic, a place where you could really go. You should have a problem in the story and a solution, and it should have to do with a person doing the right thing, being a good citizen, okay? In my example, they were including somebody else, right? They made a mistake. One of the kids made a mistake and said, no, you can't play, and then he fixed it, which is what good citizens do. Good citizens include other people, and we give each other second chances. All right, I'm really excited to see what you come up with, and I'm also looking forward to finding out which strategy is your favorite. All right, bye, writers.